fans, welcome back to 1237, back with another review. Now, before I get to the review, I do just want to say this is not part of the extreme horror type marathon that I've been doing. Although some entries in this subgenre can be seen as extreme films, some of them, in fact, have been considered some of the most notorious and controversial films ever made. I am waiting on some more extreme films to come in, and I figured this would just be a good segue into the next series of films I'm going to be doing. Similar to Faces of Death, this is I'm going to be doing the Mondo Cannibal films, sort of the first Mondo shockumentary type series that inspired Faces of Death. So, yeah, not all of these are considered extreme films, but some of them have been, and that is the Italian cannibal genre, which I've already done a handful of them. Uh, I haven't done the first Italian cannibal film, Man from Deep River, which I've wanted to get for quite a while. But I've done the big ones, Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Ferox. Those could be considered extreme films. Jungle Holocaust, Eaten Alive. Uh, Even some sillier ones like Massacre at Dinosaur Valley, Jess Franco's The Cannibals. Uh, I do have to do Jess Franco's Devil Hunter, but then there's this one that I'll be doing, which the cannibal genre kind of came and went. It died out in the late '80s, I think, with Cannibal Holocaust too, and there were some attempts to revive it throughout the '90s, but then this film came out in 2004 when Italian B movie Schlockmeister and Italian ripoff slash remake of popular films, Bruno Mattei did this. Not that it really kickstarted the genre again, and actually not only did he give us this cannibal film, but he shot it back to back with another one. So this is his 2004 essentially remake of Cannibal Holocaust. It essentially is the exact same film, which Bruno Mattei is the guy from Italy for just remaking or ripping off popular films, but in this case Cannibal Holocaust was already an Italian film. And this one goes by a lot of names, but the one that I have goes by this name, and it's 2004's Mondo Cannibal. Which, yes, he shot this back to back with In the Land of Cannibals, which is also released by Intervision, which I don't have. That's another one that I need to get. Which, coincidentally, back in 1980, Jess Franco shot The Cannibals and Devil Hunter back to back. I do have Devil Hunter. I do need to get to that. And Jess Franco's Cannibals, or The Cannibals, I have reviewed, is also known as Mondo Cannibal. So now, this has a few other titles. I mean, I think it's also known as The Real Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Holocaust, The Beginning. Sometimes it's spelled with cannibal with an E. It's known as several different titles. Of course, the font of this looks just like Cannibal Holocaust. Cannibal Holocaust, The Beginning, doesn't really make any sense to me. Neither does The Real Cannibal Holocaust, because this is what you can expect from not just a Bruno Mattei film, but like a Bruno Mattei remake or copycat. Now, I would call this an official remake of Cannibal Holocaust. I wouldn't even call Green Inferno an official remake. But, see, it says a film by Vincent Dawn. I think that was a regular pseudonym that Mattei used. But yeah, I wanted to get some names of just some other titles it had. I know there was Mondo Cannibal with an E, Real Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Holocaust The Beginning, but so directed by Bruno Mattei, written by Bruno Mattei and Giovanni Paolucci, which Giovanni Paolucci directed a documentary. I think it's called Cannibal Legend or Fiction or something like that from 2009. And it stars Helena Wagner as Grace Forsythe. Actually, I have to click on this. Claudio. This thing's so slow. Which, she's our main protagonist. And she even kind of looks like the female lead in Cannibal Holocaust. Actually, she kind of looks like and reminds me more of like a Bruno Mattei version of uh, Gale from the Scream series. Even it's kind of the same attitude. Uh, Claudio Morales as Bob, who he kind of looks like the 2004 version of Italian actors Ivan Rasimov and Simon Andrew. Not nearly as good as those two. But also, Cindy Jellick-Matic, and Antoine Reboul, Kevin Maxwell, Brad Santana, and a few other people. Now, basically, oh, I will say who did the music. No, I don't want the producers. This thing. So yeah, this very much is the exact same story as Cannibal Holocaust. Only instead of a documentary crew, it's a news crew from this failing TV station. Uh, Stefano Canone, Andrea Fasola, and Francesco Infarinato did the music. Not familiar with any of them. But, and it was shot in the Philippines. Now, so yeah, other than the fact that it's not a documentary crew, it's a news crew, almost everything else is pretty much exactly the same as Cannibal Holocaust, even all the way down to a bunch of the dialogue. You know, it even ends with the famous line, who were the real cannibals? It does go back and forth between the stuff in the Amazon and this these TV executives watching the footage. Only it's not, you know, footage that was found. Which, side note, Cannibal Holocaust is not a found footage film. It's half and half, and it inspired the genre, so it's not a found footage film. The camera guy has like a feed to the station, so they're watching it as it happens, and they cut it together. But this movie's pretty, you know, not afraid to be compared to Cannibal Holocaust. It's shot on video, and it looks terrible. It either looks very much like a digital shot on video movie. Some scenes in the beginning that are actually inside, you know, some interior scenes where it's like candlelight or a fireplace. It looks like a daytime soap opera, just super low quality. You could come to expect that with Bruno Mattei. It even with just knowing his films, I would say this is probably the worst that I've seen. I mean, yes, I would put Hell of the Living Dead above this. I would definitely find that to be more entertaining, even in a bad way. The best I could say about it would be the gore effects. The gore effects are well done. However, there's not as much of it as you would expect. I mean, we get an opening scene where like a pregnant woman is tied to a post and cut open. And then for like an hour, like it takes an hour before they even find the tribe and are led to the village. And even then, it's pretty much the same thing. They set fire to the village. They make it look like it was another tribe attack. They film themselves trying to help the tribe, you know, be the heroes. And then they even sexually assault this one native girl. You know, two of the guys do. Because there's this woman, Grace, she's kind of the no holds barred, kind of Gale from Scream or Heather from Blair Witch. Just at any cost, get the footage. And I'm surprised they didn't credit her eyebrow as a supporting character, because every time she's on screen, her eyebrow just goes up. And the acting in this movie is pretty abysmal, because when Bob is actually, doing the newscasting, she's just kind of standing behind him, like, just kind of like where all she does. Character development, there really isn't any. Just motives change because this TV news station is failing. She was once on top, now she's fallen. So she wants to get this huge scoop story by exploiting of Amazonian cannibals, which the way they go about it, they make it sound like it was a thing in the past. It doesn't exist anymore. Not so much like Cannibal Holocaust, where they're just trying to prove that it's a thing. So, which kind of makes a statement of the kind of film it is, but I don't think the movie and writing is that clever. Making it say like, oh, it's this thing that still exists, and we're gonna show it almost like the genre itself. But again, I don't think it's that clever. And this guy Bob is totally against it. He's against exploiting these tribes. He just wants them to be left as is. And then just out of nowhere, once we get to the burning of the hut, that's where it changes. I mean, Bob is there just hitting people with his rifle, kicking people, killing people. He's all for burning these huts. At one point, there's even these people in a hut that's on fire, and it's laughable because they're just standing there like, like standing there frozen with like added digital flames in front of them, so they're just with all these fake flames in front of them, and he's with the camera guy like, I want to see their faces. And then so he's totally flipped, and then after they sexually assault the native girl, that's when Grace is all against everything and traumatized. Surprisingly, they don't do the impaled girl, the infamous, the iconic shot from Cannibal Holocaust, but they do come across this one woman who's tied to a post, who's dead, but they still do the thing when they're like, oh my god, this is incredible. Then they say they're rolling, and it's like, this is the most sickest thing I've ever seen. It's so inhumane. Cut. Wow, this is so cool. They still do that. And then eventually they're just taken by the tribe, brutally killed, and ends with the TV executives, saying, get rid of it, and the guy walking out, who are the real cannibals? So yeah, it's essentially pretty much this. Things that happen are pretty much the same. I mean, yeah, they do change a couple things. The animal cruelty, the only animal death that I can think of would be they kill a baby alligator. And yeah, it is as exploitative as in the original film because they don't eat it. They just kind of they eat the guts out of it, then rip the skin off, but that's really the only animal death that's in it. But yeah, you also don't get the impaled girl. You don't get the... There are a couple ceremonial kills amongst the tribe that they watch. Similar to the one that was raped with mud and sticks for adultery in the original film. So, but really just the burning of the hut, the motives of all the people, even if they flip-flop a lot. And good gore effects, but the acting is abysmal. The look of the film is horrific. It's very, very bad, low budget, shot on digital video. That does look like a daytime soap at times. Yeah, the gore is really the only thing I can give it, but even then it's not really worth it. And where I wouldn't really call it a official remake of Cannibal Holocaust, it really just feels like a shameless ripoff. It doesn't feel like a remake. It just feels like a shameless ripoff. And the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just thinking to myself, I'd much rather just be watching Cannibal Holocaust. It's no wonder this didn't revive the cannibal genre. I still need to see In the Land of Cannibals, which he shot back to back with this. I just got done watching it, and I'm already struggling to really remember things that happened. Also, it doesn't have any that I can think of. It doesn't show any footage from the camera, which, if it does, there's no filter or anything to show that it's like news footage. There's no like timestamp or news logo. It doesn't get into any grainy type look. It doesn't even like the color filter doesn't change. Except for maybe the end, when the camera guy's just standing in the bushes watching everyone being clubbed to death, which I thought, was a good scene because these people do deserve to be killed. It is fairly bloody and gory when it actually happens. There's just not nearly enough as what you would expect. Then it kind of goes into like a sepia tone, but other than that, there's really, which was sort of a big thing with Cannibal Holocaust, was trying to get this realistic documentary look. I think the only time we see what was caught on film was when the executives are watching it on TV. Since the cinematography look doesn't change, it just looks like the POV from other characters or just the camera view itself, not the news camera. So it doesn't let you know whether you're watching the movie or whether you're watching the footage that they're catching. It doesn't let you know. Even when Grace is in front of the camera, it's usually her kind of looking at the camera. They're both in frame. So there's no like footage like in Cannibal Holocaust, which was a major part of it. Not sure why. But yeah, everything else pretty much the same. Not a documentary crew, it's a news crew. They go in there with just the totally wrong, wrong intentions. Like they make the sensationalism happen. And yeah, it is a blatant ripoff. I can't even call it a remake. It doesn't even seem to be ashamed of itself for how much it's ripping off Cannibal Holocaust. But yeah, even other than that, it's just kind of a rough sit just because the low quality, which I was expecting with, the director. Also, the dubbing is pretty laughable. I mean, you get used to it, but like in the beginning, the English dubbing and syncing up with the lips is pretty bad. But yeah, I would have to say, just looking at the cannibal films I have, I would have to put this at the bottom. I mean, yeah, I wasn't a fan of Massacre at Dinosaur Valley, and I don't remember a thing from it, but well, maybe this one's gorier, but where it takes so long and the gore scenes are actually so few and far between, it doesn't make it worth it of a sit. And I'm not really sure what else to say about it. It took me forever to get to this movie just because I found it kind of hard to sit through. Just boring, looks like shit, not very interesting, and it just made me want to watch Cannibal Holocaust. So yeah, that's Bruno Mattei's 2004 shameless ripoff of Cannibal Holocaust. One of two attempts to possibly reinvigorate the genre, but the director's always been the kind of guy that just makes whatever he wants. Like, he doesn't care what's popular or not. He just does what he wants. And probably, and Grant, I haven't seen Cannibal Holocaust 2 from the 80s. I've heard that's pretty terrible. But as it stands right now, for Italian cannibal films, I'd have to say this is the worst one. And so, yeah, the only other one I have is Jess Franco's Devil Hunter. I do have Sergio Martino's Slave of the Cannibal God, but this is such a cheap, bad cut of it. I think this is cut by a ton of minutes. So I haven't watched it yet. I'm probably going to get the Blue Underground cut version or something. You know, one that I know is uncut. Because I'm pretty sure this one is. But, so yeah. And I'll also use this as a segue for the Mondo Cannibal series, which I have 4 films of. And then hopefully the 3 remaining Extreme films will come in by the time those are done. So stay tuned for those, and thank you for watching.